In this presentation, I'm going to persuade all of you to try and find some way or to limit or even stop the use of violent video games altogether. When I was young, my dad used to play a lot of Call of Duty whenever he went to get off work, and he played other types of first person shooting games from time to time. And I used to watch him play these games in the basement. We used to have a basement back in the day. It was fun to watch at first. But as I got older, I found out that his obsession with these games soon became quite addicting, and his behavior started to slightly change. It wasn't really like aggressive, but mom and dad got into a lot of fights where mom would be the one saying that he should limit or even stop his way of playing these games altogether. In time, dad saw that this was slowly changing him, and to avoid the games, to get rid of the good side of him, he broke everything, broke every single game that he used to play. However, there are thousands up to millions of people who play games that are twice or even 10 times as worse as Call of Duty. A person who's against violence and sexual activity in these video games is Jack Thompson. He's an activist and a disbarred attorney. He has the role of being an anti-video game or anti-violence video game activist, where he debates on debates against violence and sex in video games and how it can inflict or develop aggressive and even violent behaviors over time if these games get too addicting. Now, many of you might be wondering, what's so bad about video games? These violent video games. Well, some video games out there aren't as bad as others, where some are even worse. The type of games where I think are okay to play from time to time is Halo, Super Smash Bros, or Final Fantasy, and maybe other Nintendo games out there that aren't as violent. However, there are some games out there as well who that develop types of behaviors that are really overwhelming for some. And it makes people have an aggressive side to them, such as Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, um, Borderlands, Titanfall, Apex Legends, Fortnite, PUBG, etc. All these types of games can develop rebellious, aggressive, and even violent behavior over time. And it can be an addiction. It can be like just as addicting as smoking or drinking alcoholic beverages. Now, there's like ongoing debate saying that violent video games are cause to mass shootings that are commonly known and widespread today. However, as much as I really want to agree with this, I do think that these violent video games aren't as involved. I just know that it may make people who play them have a more of an urge or an obsession to actually hold a gun in real life and to actually shoot one. And considering these games like shoot other people, it might make people figure out what's it like to have a real life experience to that. And although I don't know much about how violent video games can lead to mass shootings, I do know that cyberbullying is very widespread in these types of games. I've seen many videos where people picked on others or became bullies virtually due to them either if they either lost a game to someone, if they were just arguing over different sort of things, or they just wanted to act cool among others. This type of bullying can lead to develop hate and anger and other negative feelings that people have amongst others. And some cyberbullying can be so strict, so cruel that it can sometimes have make the victim commit suicide. I've seen many. I've heard and read many reports about it. The benefits for limiting or getting rid of the usage of violent video games may actually decrease the how much kids can be so aggressive and so rebellious over parents over time. Throwing away or getting rid of or limiting these video games can might decrease number of kids acting rebellious on parents, friends, and other individuals, and we might see friendlier and even happier faces. Because why would anyone want to be in that sort of relationship with violent video games? I mean, the only way I would think as a last resort, if I think violent video games are okay to play, is if people are asking you to go to war. If you are wanting to join an army, then yes, violent video games is a way to go. However, there are games out there that are really dangerous to play now, considering Fortnite. For an example, Fortnite is a really popular game and very widespread. However, I just found out that it's the highest game out there that will lead to sex trafficking, because people I've heard who play it, they ask the other person who's either their teammate or a person who's really good and they lost to him, says, "Hey, do you want to meet sometime?" And usually that involves them selling them to other people to abuse them in a abusive or sexual manner. And it's kind of getting out of control, but people still haven't found out if that this is actually the cause. But I am having some hunches that it might happen, or if it's involved. In closing, thank you for listening to this presentation. I know that it's a little bit shorter than last time, but all I can say is if we can try to limit these video games and save millions of people's kids and minds from all the violence, sexuality, abuse, and rebellion from what these video games have to offer, who knows? We might even save lives. Thank you for listening.